Baba Danpullo MTN FNB saga all began in September 2022 when the courts in Cameroon seized the mobile money account of the mobile telephone company MTN Cameroon, worth about 133 billion francs CFA. MTN Cameroon is a subsidiary of the South African multinational, the MTN Group. Since the seizure of the accounts of MTN, the telecom company has been crying foul, as the funds which belong to MTN Momo subscribers are to be kept in a private account controlled by the court registrar of the Bonanjo Court of First Instance. Another structure greatly concerned with the court's decision in Cameroon is the chocolate confectionery Cameroon Chococam, which is a subsidiary of Tiger Brands based in South Africa. The judges of the Bonanjo Court of First Instance, following complaints by the Cameroonian billionaire, as well seized the accounts of Chococam worth some 5 billion francs CFA. The major curiosity stands: why have the accounts of MTN Cameroon and Chococam been confiscated by the courts of First Instance in Bonanjo Douala? Behind all the above crises is one person, El Haj Amadou Baba Danpullo. MTN Momo accounts were frozen following complaints filed by the Cameroonian business mogul. At the Bonanjo Court of First Instance, the billionaire Danpullo complained to the court in Cameroon that his assets, comprising real estate worth about 5 billion South African rands, an equivalent of about 250 billion francs CFA, have been confiscated in South Africa by the First National Bank, the FNB, a subsidiary of the parent First Rand Bank, in connection with a loan granted him by the FNB. The loan amounts to 22 billion francs CFA, which the bank accorded the South African-based conglomerate, the Bessinver Company Limited, of Baba Danpullo some years back. The credit was to be paid within a period of 10 years, with an agreement of reimbursing 10 million South African rands monthly, which is about 400 million francs CFA. The seizure of MTN and Chococam accounts in Cameroon is in a bid to mount pressure for the bank to reinstate the property of Baba Danpullo. The lawyers of Danpullo also accuse South African authorities plus South African judicial system, whom according to them are backing the FNB Bank, drifting their blames on xenophobic tendencies on their client, who they think is considered a stranger in South Africa. And still on the reasons why Danpullo is taking on MTN and also Tiger Brands, Danpullo's lawyers, though not explicit enough, insist again that there exist indirect links between the FNB, Chococam and MTN. They explain the Public Investment Corporation PLC based in South Africa is a shareholder in MTN and Tiger Brands. The imbroglio for years now has been making headlines and threatening diplomatic relationship between Cameroon and South Africa. Now, several questions are still hanging in the air. First, what is the FNB saying about the accusations pushed forward by Danpullo's lawyers about the bank spoiling Bessinver property? Credible sources tell us the loan has not fully been paid. Secondly, has all the property or assets of Danpullo been liquidated and sold out in South Africa? If not, which have been sold out and which are still under the control or ownership of the Bessinver company? Another question we will be answering in this investigation is, could it be valid that Danpullo's assets were seized and sold out in South Africa because of his skin color, or xenophobic tendencies as reported by other media outlets in Cameroon? And also, another question is, what is the official statement of other enterprises suffering from this tension? We are talking about MTN and Tiger Brands or Chococam, which arbitrations in South Africa have also heard the Danpullo FNB court case. Equinox Television took the giant step to travel to South Africa so as to get first-hand information on the genesis of the Danpullo FNB loan affair. We just arrived at the OL Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg, South Africa. Equinox Television is here to get first-hand information on the best-in-breed company, First National Bank Credit or Loan Affair. We will be meeting with court officials and also the banks concerned. We will also talk with some companies dragged in the credit affair, such as the MTN Group and Tiger Brands. We are in South Africa to investigate on the judicial affair. Our first move was to get to know more on the South African judicial system and how the courts function. This led us to one of the courts on the outskirts of Johannesburg, the Randburg Magistrate Court, situated on the countryside, few kilometers away from Sandton City. It was a busy day here when we arrived. Right now we are at the Randburg Magistrate Court. Randburg is a city not far away from Johannesburg, all of them in the Gauteng province. We are here to speak with an attorney or the state prosecutor to tell us exactly how the South African judiciary is organized or structured and how the courts operate here in South Africa. We spoke with some attorneys on how the courts in South Africa are classified.
They have classified our courts into two parts: the lower courts and the higher courts. And then there are other specialized courts. The lower courts, there are you find the district magistrates courts, which deals with in terms of civil matters ranging with amounts claiming if you claim for an amount ranging from 0 to 200,000, you lodge it at the district magistrates court. And then if the money that you are claiming is from, for example, 200,000 or from 0 to 400,000, then you go to the regional magistrates court. And then there are also small claims courts, which are courts which deals with small matters. For example, if you want to claim in a civil court or in a civil matter, you want to claim an amount of 20,000, then your matter is going to be dealt with in the small claims court. All these three courts, your small claims court, your district magistrates court and the regional court, you find them in the magisterial district. You find all these three courts. And then with the higher courts, you find the High Court, you find the Supreme Court of Appeal, you find the Constitutional Court. And then courts which are in the same level with the High Court, you find your labor appeal court, your labor court, your competition court. Those are regarded as being on an equal level with the High Court. And there are various divisions of the High Courts in South Africa. In each and every province, there are plus minus 2 divisions in each province.
Another major question we are seeking answers to in South Africa is, could the seizure of Danpullo's assets in South Africa be racially motivated? In our chat with lawyers here, they told us apartheid is a thing of the past and xenophobia is strictly condemned and punished by the laws in South Africa.
In South Africa, everyone is equal before the law. So it doesn't matter if you are the president or the minister, the law is going to be treated as if you are a layperson or you're not any different. We've got something in our criminal system called crimen injuria, which you can be arrested for any racial remarks. And there's no way that you can turn around the Constitution. The Constitution, I mean, South Africa does have the best Constitution in the world, or as it's been claimed, but you cannot go around that. The law is very clear in terms of our Constitution that no one is above the law.
One of our principal missions in South Africa is to speak one-to-one with the liquidators, in this case, Secheba Trust, which is the organ appointed or solicited by the court to take charge of the liquidation process of Baba Danpullo's assets. No better way than to get to the courts, which have heard the case pitting the Best Invest Company and the FNB Bank. Our next stop then was the Johannesburg High Court. We are here at the High Court of South Africa, Gauteng Local Division, Johannesburg. It is in this court that the Cameroonian business tycoon filing a complaint about some South African banks, the First National Bank inclusive, about his assets here in South Africa, which are already in the process of liquidation. We want to find out how far the court has gone with the case file and what way forward, and why not have access or lay hands to some of the documents in that case file. After discussions and negotiations with court registrars and other attorneys on the possibility of having any information on the case between Baba Danpullo and the FNB proved abortive here, we continued our investigations with Attorney Green Sekambe, a barrister at law specialized in civil law, contract, administrative and public law, and most especially estate administration. Attorney Green is deeply introduced into the South African judiciary. From his findings, he told us the case file had been dropped in Pretoria by Danpullo's lawyers. From Johannesburg to Pretoria, we must go by train. The journey took us about 30 minutes. For over 2 weeks, the Equinox team was in South Africa. We moved from one courtroom to another. Our legal source here told us that from the superficial documents he could lay hands on, there is a great possibility the case file was heard in Cape Town. The Equinox team poised to get precise and concise information on the assets of Baba Danpullo, which have been liquidated, and those not concerned in the loan saga. We immediately decided at dusk to travel down to Cape Town. Our intention was to get to Cape Town as early as 8 a.m., so we had to leave our hotel rooms at Sandton City even before dawn. At 4 a.m., we took off for the OR Tambo International Airport to board the first flight to Cape Town. It was a long flight, flying through sandy beaches as we aim for the seaside resort city. Finally, here we are in Cape Town. We headed directly for the High Court in Cape Town. Welcome to Cape Town, one of the biggest cities in South Africa. I am present in front of the High Court in Cape Town. Our close legal sources informed us that it is in this court that the case pitting the Cameroonian business moguls company, the Best Inve, and the First National Bank has been heard. So we are pushing forward to get more information about that case file. Courageously, we made our way into the offices, all in search of the famous case file. We need to know the exact amount of the loan, which property has been seized, and what property are not concerned in the liquidation process. At the High Court, the attorneys we spoke with explained that it was prohibited to access a plaintiff's case file without their consent. But with the assistance, tact and directives from other collaborative attorneys, we finally laid hands on the liquidation document with a heavy sigh of relief. This is because the document contains much of the information we are in search for here in South Africa. These documents I have in hand is a case filed by the liquidators in this case, Sesheba Trust. It contains details on the assets of property already sold out, those still in the liquidation process, and also the net worth of those property. Let's get the details together. In this document, we got concrete information on the property of Baba Danpullo, which have been seized by the bank and have been in the liquidation process. The real estate properties concerned are located in Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Port Elizabeth. They include Princess Crossing, Northern Rose House, Hyde Park, and Constancia. The Equinox team wanted to know the exact location of this property and the magnitude and how much they can cost. Our first stop was at Northern Rose House, situated at 8 Riebeck Street in Cape Town. The gigantic structure behind me is called Northern Rose House. It is owned by the Cameroonian business mogul Alhaji Baba Danpullo, and just a stone throw from there is One Table Square. It is a structure of over 30 floors, also gigantic, owned still by the Cameroonian business mogul. But our legal sources here in South Africa told us that those two buildings no longer belong to him. This building is made up of over 100 high-end apartments plus other businesses. It is situated at the heart of Cape Town. Just beside Northern Rose House is another magnificent building which also serves as an attraction park for visitors. Like Northern Rose House, Tibot Square as well accommodates businesses and several high-end apartments. It is also very gigantic. We are not allowed to take pictures of the building because it is heavily guarded with serious security around. Those were the two properties owned by Baba Danpullo in Cape Town, but has been auctioned by the FNB Bank. We had to board our flight again back to base in Johannesburg. Following information from the liquidation case document or file, Princess Crossing and Hyde Park, all of them contained in the court document, are located in Johannesburg. While in Sandton City, we set out directly to locate the above two assets or former assets of Danpullo. Our next stop was at another vast property. It is Princess Crossing. Princess Crossing, another property which was owned by Cameroonian business mogul Alhaji Baba Danpullo. It is built on several hectares of land here in Rosaport and accommodates several companies. And our legal sources again here in South Africa tell us that Princess Crossing no longer belongs to the Best Invest company. It has been seized by some banks here in South Africa over unpaid loans by the Best Invest company. Some few kilometers away from Princess Crossing is another property which was owned by the Cameroonian billionaire Alhaji Baba Danpullo. It is the Hyde Park. This other huge building behind me is called the Hyde Park, situated here in Johannesburg. It consists of a supermarket, a hotel, and other big apartments. Before now, this building belonged to Best Invest company of Alhaji Baba Danpullo. But as it stands now, it no longer belongs to the Best Invest company. It has been confiscated by the FNB and other banks here in South Africa over unpaid loans. The Hyde Park is another very huge property which was owned by Alhaji Danpullo. It consists also of a large supermarket, several high-ended residences, and even a TV station. Those are the property concerned with the loan affair. But mind you, those are not all of the property owned by Alhaji Baba Danpullo in South Africa. This other huge story building of over 30 floors contains a supermarket. Like the others, it is called Marble Towers. It is owned by Baba Danpullo but not contained in the liquidation documents. In essence, this property still belongs to Alhaji Baba Danpullo. Next is this other property still under the ownership of Baba Danpullo. The 5th floor of Mandela Square contains another huge supermarket in the heart of Johannesburg. One of the most prominent business sites is owned by Alhaji Baba Danpullo. It doesn't feature as well anywhere in the liquidation document and as such still belongs to the businessman and is holding the Best Invest company. Same with His Majesty Building in Johannesburg, Waldorf Building in Cape Town, Mitsubishi Head Office, Penthouse in Cape Town, plus other properties in Port Elizabeth which are not included in the case file. Highly probable thus that they still belong to the Cameroonian billionaire's real estate, the Best Invest Company Limited. Conclusion: not all property which belonged to Baba Danpullo in South Africa were seized by the FNB Bank over the unpaid loans. Now, what is the FNB saying? The FNB, which is one of the largest banks in South Africa and Africa as a whole, with a capital of over $94 billion and present in at least 20 countries in the world, is the principal accused here by Alhaji Baba Danpullo. And still about the portfolio of the FNB Bank, the most recent edition of the Africa Report magazine classifies the first-ranked bank of South Africa among Africa's top 300 consolidated banking groups with a total score of 88 and an asset of $417 billion, 658 million US dollars. Upon our arrival at the FNB headquarters in South Africa, it wasn't an easy ride to find our way through the gigantic structure. However, we finally got to the service in charge of communication. Directly, we asked of getting more information from the FNB management on the preoccupations of the Cameroonian billionaire about the alleged unfair seizure and spoliation of his real estate property over unpaid loans. We were told the information on a client's account is private and can't be given out publicly to a third party without the client's consent. After insisting for several days because of the quest to get credible information for our audience across the world, the FNB Chief of Communications sent a reply to one of our several emails, informing us of the official stance of the FNB Bank concerning the case filed in by Danpullo against their institution in Cameroon.
First National Bank cannot disclose any information about specific bank accounts due to its confidentiality. The bank's debt collection process comply with the relevant laws governing credit agreements in South Africa. First National Bank further confirms that it is not a party to the court case instituted by the Best-Tinver in Cameroon.
We also mentioned earlier that other companies in Cameroon which have their headquarters in South Africa or great shares are owned by South Africans are also bearing the brunt of the case between Danpullo and the bank. While Danpullo's lawyers say and insist that these South African companies have links with the FNB, Equinox Television made several attempts at getting first to the MTN Group in South Africa. This is the headquarters of the MTN Group in South Africa, situated at Rosaport in Johannesburg. We have had several appointments through phone calls and WhatsApp communications with the head of the Corporate Affairs Department, all in a bid to have a one-to-one interview with her on the stance of the MTN Group about what is happening to MTN Cameroon. We had a phone chat with the Corporate Affairs officer who, after learning of our preoccupation, directed us to her boss, Danpullo Murafo, who is the head of the Corporate Affairs Department of the MTN Group in South Africa. All our attempts here to get a one-to-one interview were futile. Nonetheless, the head of the Corporate Communication Department of MTN Group sent a reply to our email on the position of the MTN Group. This is the official message from the MTN Group in South Africa on the prejudice the MTN branch in Cameroon is facing.
Following South African Minister of Internal Relations and Cooperation Naledi Pandor's statement expressing concern about the treatment of South African businesses in Cameroon, MTN Group confirms that actions by the court in Cameroon are impacting the group's operation in that country. We confirm with concern that on Friday 9th June 2023, a court in Cameroon ordered MTN Cameroon's banking partners to transfer the company's funds that have been garnished from MTN Cameroon's accounts to the court's escrow account. This is part of a long-running dispute between two parties to which MTN has no relation or dealings in Cameroon. This dispute is between South African Bank and Ben-Stever Cameroon plc, as well as three other companies based in South Africa, collectively referred to here as Ben-Stever Group. We understand from media reports that the Ben-Stever Group has Cameroonian businessman Mr. Madu Baba Danpullo as its promoter. In September 2022, several of MTN Cameroon's banking partners were served the garnishee order on MTN Cameroon's account at the request of Ben-Stever Group. The four companies informed our banking partners that they were seeking to recover the sum of 259.2 billion in a dispute they supposedly had with the bank based in South Africa, which is completely unrelated to MTN Cameroon. The four companies claim that the South African bank has a common shareholder with MTN Cameroon, which is in fact not the case. They therefore seek their resource on MTN Cameroon in Cameroon on a private commercial matter that they have engaged in South Africa. As MTN Cameroon is in no way linked to this bank nor its shareholders in South Africa, registered as surprise and grave concern with all necessary authorities seeking their support to have this garnishee order lifted. This matter is not only offering MTN Cameroon but also another South African-owned company in Cameroon. It is utterly outstanding that MTN is being brought into this issue, which is one apparently between Mr. Madu Baba Danpullo and First National Bank, said MTN Group Chief Sustainability and Corporate Affairs Officer Nanpala Marofo. From the outset, we have pursued all legal channels to resolve this bizarre situation in which we find ourselves caught up, but to no avail. MTN Cameroon prides itself as being a responsible corporate citizen. MTN Cameroon prides itself on being a responsible corporate citizen and finds the garnishment of its account evidently abusive. MTN Cameroon will continue to use all possible legal means available to address this issue, and it's hopeful that the matter will be fairly resolved by the courts and that justice will prevail. MTN Cameroon would like to assure its customers and partners of the continuity of all services offered to them while we seek to resolve the matters expeditiously. At the end of 2022, MTN Cameroon, in which MTN Group owns 80%, accounted for approximately 4% MTN Group service revenue and 3% of Group EBITDA.
Another company attacked is Tiger Brands. Behind me is Tiger Brands, an affiliate of Shokokam in Cameroon. It is one of the companies greatly negatively affected by the Best Invest company saga. But the communications office of Tiger Brands here in South Africa is crying foul. They say they are in no way connected with the Best Invest company loan or credit affair. Shokokam is into food processing. The company's accounts too have been seized, making the running of the structure really complicated and daunting. We as well made several moves to have an interview with the management of Tiger Brands in South Africa. After many calls and emails, the corporate communications director, Brenna Obeholzer, finally, just like MTN, sent us an official statement from the Tiger Brands in South Africa on the setbacks the seizure or confiscation of the account is causing the enterprise.
A well-known Cameroonian businessman, Mr. Danpullo, has been engaged in a dispute with his bankers, First National Bank, in respect of real estate dealings in South Africa. In a matter totally unrelated to this dispute, Shokokam's bank accounts in Cameroon were illegally frozen in September 2022 pursuant to garnishee orders issued in favor of the Cameroonian businessman by the Court of First Instance. The company has been unreasonably caught in the crossfire of the dispute, which is totally unrelated to our business in Cameroon. The Shokokam business is able to continue operations. However, the frozen bank accounts are putting undue pressure on the liquidity of the business. Any further unsatisfactory outcome from ongoing litigation may significantly impact on Shokokam's ability to continue operations. Issues of this nature will also have a negative impact on shareholder support for the company's plans to invest in growing its business on the continent. Tiger Brands and Shokokam are dealing with the issue through the courts in Cameroon, and the matter remains pending before the courts. The dispute has been brought to the attention of the South African High Commissioner in Cameroon and Dr. Naledi Pandor, South Africa's Minister of Internal Relations and Cooperations. Minister Pandor visited Cameroon early in April 2023 and raised the matter during bilateral discussions.
Baba Danpullo's lawyers, in an interview they accorded local tabloids in Cameroon on June 18, 2023, affirmed that the 22 billion credit was to be paid within a period of 10 years. The legal mind goes further to argue that it was never as a result of the incapacity of Danpullo to repay the loan. They as well insist on what the term spoliation of their client's property.
That the first thing you need to understand is if a property is sold and the property is sold above the money that is recoverable by the creditor, the remainder of the money goes to goes to the owner of the asset, the property, the owner of that property. So if you owe a bank X amount of money, maybe let's say, hypothetically speaking, you owe a bank 200,000, your property is sold at 500,000. The bank will take their 200,000. Administration cost of the liquidation will be taken from that amount, and the remainder of that amount, whether it be 300, whether it be 100,000 or 100 rand, if it's the remainder of what the property was worth, then that value is given to you. Well, they might have not agreed with the plan, thinking that the plan is either going to work. And if they feel that the plan is not going to work, they saw it best that the liquidation process gets underway. They knew very well that, and after a business rescue process would have failed, or any plans would have not yielded the results, the next step would be liquidation. So you go into that process knowing, particularly the business rescue process, you know that if this process fails, then the next step is liquidation. Well, I mean, once this liquidation process started, the only thing that can happen is for you to rescind the order. It's not so much about the appeal, because an appeal has timelines in which you can file an appeal after the court has issued. But after a process of liquidation, the only thing you can do is to rescind the judgment that placed you under liquidation. And if that is rescinded, then try to find a way in which you can reverse the process, where each party can be restored into the position that they were before liquidation process. But so far, there is not for a court to consider that and to do that. It must be based on a very exceptional point.
Several attempts by Equinox Television to get to Danpullo's lawyers for a one-to-one interview were futile. However, official documents which we got from credible legal sources indicate clearly that the bank, through the court in South Africa, proposed a rescue plan to the Best Invest Limited to help revive the company, which seemed to be collapsing, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. A rescue plan which Danpullo, through his company, the Best Invest, rejected. The court was left with no option than to bring liquidators in so the FNB could regain its unpaid loans.
I have taken a bond with ABSA. It's one of the popular banks in South Africa.
FNB?
Or FNB. You've taken a bond. Normally a bond is about 20 years to pay. Now, depending on what then happens, because then you can take a further loan on top of that loan against the house, either to renew or to renovate the house and do other things and alterations to the house. Now, that might then extend the period, depending on the discussion that you discuss with the bank and the kind of interest rates and so forth. If in the event you are not able to pay, certain things happen first. It might be that you are not able to pay because you're perhaps retrenched or dismissed from work. Now, we have insurance that cover those instances, but most people are not prone to take them. And in the event of retrenchment, your insurance can kick in and cover the debts that would have arisen out of you now not being able to pay as a result of retrenchment. If you don't have those in place, then the bank wants their money. They will then initiate a process of debt collection against you. So they will start first with probably SMS campaigns, where they send you SMSs and they say your bond is in arrears and this pay by this period and all that sort. Urgently contact us to make arrangements. You ignore it. They'll send you another one, they'll send you another one, they'll send you another one, then they start calling you. We have this debt. When are you going to settle it? And you say, no, this is the situation, I'm unable to work, and they give you maybe a certain period. If you are not able to settle that amount or discuss a payment arrangement with them, they go then through a process called foreclosure, where they then liquidate the house. They are able to then approach the court and say, court, this person owes us this much, has not been paying for X amount of months. We believe it's only fair that the property is taken. Or first, the court will rule in their favor and say, you X owe this the bank this amount, pay them immediately. Because remember, at that time when the bank go through that process, the entire amount becomes immediately due and payable. So they're not going to claim for areas of 5,000 if you owe them 5,000. If the entirety of the debt is 500,000, they're going to claim for the 500,000. It's not the areas. So the entire amount, the agreement is cancelled at that point. Then you owe them the capital amount as is. Then the court say, yes, you owe them, pay them. Then they have a judgment in their favor that directs the court, directs the bank to come after you to claim that money. What they then will do, then they will take that and give it to a sheriff. Sheriff will come and serve you, and you still do not make a payment arrangement, or you default on it, or you can't agree. The bank will then go back to court and say, court, now we are ready to execute. We want to execute against the house. We want to take the house and sell it in public market, in open market.
In a nutshell, Baba Danpullo, FNB, MTN, Tiger Brands are the major actors in the Danpullo FNB affair. However, the issue has gone from being purely a business discord to a diplomatic and sub-regional concern. The tension drew the attention of the governor of the Bank of Central African States, BIAC, Abbas Mahamat Toli. He sent a missive to Cameroon's Minister of Finance, Louis-Paul Motazi, raising serious concerns as to the investment climate in Cameroon. The BIAC governor was solicited by the Association of Banking Institutions of Cameroon, complaining of the judicial orders accompanied by high daily penalties against several banking institutions aimed at forcing them to transfer to the registry of the Bonanjo Court of First Instance designated receiver of funds confined in the framework of pending precautionary seizure procedures. The BIAC boss's correspondence specifies that the large sums confined under said precautionary seizures are funds registered on mobile money pool accounts belonging to mobile money customers. Under the terms of Article 52 of Regulation 04/18/CEMAC COBAC of December 21, 2018 relating to payment services in CEMAC, those accounts are protected against any recourse from other creditors of the payment institution, including in the event of enforcement proceedings or collective debt settlement opened against the payment institutions. The BIAC boss continued by saying, it therefore appears that the community rules, in particular the regulation mentioned above, or applicable national rules, particularly those governing deposits and consignment in Cameroon, are not respected. Mahamat Toli said he particularly draws the attention of stakeholders in the finance sector to the risks posed by such court decisions on the banking and financial system, given the significant financial stakes which do not have a legal basis. He calls on the courts in Cameroon to contact the Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seals to make him aware of the rules governing the banking and financial system. The poor application, which could contain the seeds of a systematic risk. Danpullo's lawyers have described the correspondence of the BIAC governor as unacceptable, risky, reckless, and contrary to diplomatic norms. The Baba Danpullo loan or credit saga with the First National Bank, which has been dragging along with its collateral like MTN and Tiger Brands or Chococam, is feared might cause further diplomatic rift between Cameroon and South Africa, reason for which diplomatic and legal or judicial negotiations are still going on, hopefully towards a consensual solution respecting the laws of both countries and legal engagement of all the parties concerned.